welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Hey everyone, Jack from Ammo Marketing here. Today I'm stepping in for Cam, our usual host. And today on Weird Growth, we have Rebecca Loftus and Nicole Gazey from Idea Academy. Idea Academy, and I've got a bit of an intro here for you guys, is a community that supports the niche talents and interests that students have. Idea helps students transition into the real world and preparing them for the future. How do I go? Is that kind of accurate?
We'll take it. We'll take it.
You'll take it. You'll take it. So we're going to talk a bit about Idea today and your growth journey. But before we do, I got a pop quiz for you guys. If you were to start another business from scratch today, what would it be? And it can't be Idea. There's the twist.
I did mention yesterday, maybe we should have just started Idea Doggy Daycare for doggies that don't fit the mainstream. They don't talk back as much as the teenagers do. But yeah,
and they shit in one place.
They do. We've also talked about maybe just opening a florist in Bali. If it all goes.
Oh yeah.
We've also talked about Utopia, which is an island for founders, and you can go there and just escape and be pampered and taken care of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also engage in unhealthy coping strategies like drinking too
heavy
much.
Drinking and
okay. Yeah. Oh, I wonder why we got drinks today. So flowers, dogs, and islands. I feel like you could bring them together somehow.
Why not?
Potentially.
Maybe.
Like a meta style, just alternative, world and ecosystem where you can just get everything from Idea. Yeah. Flowers, dogs, education, and mental health treatment facilities. Yeah.
So well, it sounds like something that would be very wholesome and welcoming, and I guess that's kind of close to
definitely
what you guys are like anyway, right?
Yeah.
Actually, yes.
Yeah, we're caretakers for sure.
Yeah.
I think we'd definitely be in all honesty, I'm sure we'd be in some sort of care-based industry. Yeah.
I think that, if it didn't work out or doesn't work out, which that's a terrifying thought, but we'd just be back at it again. So as full on as the journey's been, it's in our blood now, I think.
Yeah.
It would probably take maybe 6 months off and then be at it again. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's going to work.
No, I think
you guys have been killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been unignorable, really, in the Perth ecosystem anyway. It's been awesome to watch you grow and be a part of that too, in some ways. So we're really excited to have you here today. There's so much to unpack. But before we get into that, what was the original sort of starting point for Idea? What was that first problem that you were trying to solve with the company?
I have a wonderful son who is 20 now. And always a little different as a kid, loved to be an adventurer, and then he had to go to this thing called school, and you could just see straight up that he was too big for the classroom. And so education was always a little bit of a struggle for him. But it was really hard to understand as a parent because he was quite talented and very articulate and quite emotionally intelligent and very creative. And I was like, what's going on here? So high school came along and I thought, he's going to actually possibly die in this system, and looking for options. It was really, really, it was quite limited. And we did identify an option for him, and one of them, he basically, his mental health really, really suffered. And there was a big crisis point at one day, and I just thought, God, there's no system that has a right to do this to an individual. And I was like, well, what's the long-term impact for him if, I wasn't in the position I was in at the time, being in education? What do other parents do, and what if they can't afford, alternative options? And there is no option anyway for young people like this, or if they are, they're kind of underwhelmed or underengaged anyway. So I just thought that for me was the crisis point, that I thought, from my professional experience working with industry and education and seeing that everybody wanted the same thing, coming at a different way, there was many, many opportunities in the system. So I just thought, well, we've just got to create something, otherwise there's going to be this huge long-term impact. More and more young people are suffering because of it, and families just want something different. So, that was my
Wow.
That's your why.
Crisis point.
Yeah, it's great.
I just wanted
I didn't
a
want
nice,
anyone else to go through that. I didn't want any young person or any parent to go through that ever again.
Yeah.
and I wanted a nice job. I was
Where you
going
can
from
drink.
yeah.
And then she found this.
I want to wear thongs to work every day. My perspective was coming from being in the classroom, I guess, as a teacher, and seeing it just doesn't work for a lot of kids, and as a teacher as well. I felt there's other ways to do it, and there's a lot of cool stuff happening, and I just got really interested from a research perspective in what all the alternative models are and what's happening out there, and met this lovely lady who was we were both kind of on a similar path and thinking the same way, and we just joined forces and off we went.
Yeah, and tell me more about that story. How did you guys meet?
Through Chandra from Space Cubed.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shout out to Chandra.
Yeah,
Shout out to Chandra. I was working at Fogarty Foundation on one of their programs called Ed Futures, and that was looking at, well, what can we do to kind of accelerate this transition and to a new future of education, and how do we support local alternatives, and how do we amplify the research and all that kind of stuff. And I had been chatting with Space Cubed and a bunch of others around, like, let's just get this group together. And he was like, do you know Nicole Gazey? I was like, no. He said, you need to meet her. And so we met for a cup of tea. We always joked that it then quickly turned into a wine, and that was at kind of the early 2019. And then by the end of 2019 it was like, let's just join forces and do this.
Nice. And from, I guess, that first touch point and meeting, and how long did it take for you guys to, I guess, form that first cohort and work out, I guess, the initial concept of idea?
I think that without knowing it, we were really doing human-centered design. So obviously coming from my own personal experience as, I guess, a user of the system, a mother who's got, whose young person fits ideas persona. That's where it started. But I think we both were very, very curious about who is it not working for and why, and where are they and how can we talk to them. And I think COVID was actually a blessing in disguise for us, because we got to talk to many, many people during that year, and particularly in the homeschool market. So we started with really, really understanding the pain points of our customer. And
what are the other options? Sorry to jump in. What are the other options out there for a student?
It depends on how
they're presented.
Different and how alternative you're willing to go. I mean, there's lots of, within schools there's programs, within public and private schools there's alternative programs. There's alternative schools with who are offering alternative credentials like Montessori and Steiner, things like that. So, and then there's, homeschooling is a very high growth sector. Parents are pulling their kids out of school. There's online schools. There's different alternatives, and it just depends on where you want to go, I guess, as well.
The way we describe it is that in the current system, the mainstream system, there is plenty of programs for academically talented young people. There's plenty of programs for young people who need extra social care, like care schools and engagement programs, and young people with disabilities. There's programs for them. The whole system is kind of catered towards that mainstream or the middle cohort. But if you slip either side of the bell curve there and you show some creativity, you might be neurodiverse, you challenge the system, you ask why a lot, then there's really nothing for you. You kind of have to sit in that middle rung. And so we ended up at Steiner, mainly because his mental health had got so bad, and he's a creative. So I thought, okay, him being alive is the most important thing right now. And so as a creative, I think the worst thing a creative can do is put a lid on it. So giving him that freedom to go and build in that emotional awareness and get creative again. But yeah, there's the Montessori's, online school, there's some care schools out there. But then what young people are actually doing is they're just going off to TAFE, or they're going and working, but they're not landing well enough. And we think that TAFE and the vocational system's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, but there's no middle ground. And that's really, we've got very, very clear over the last year that that's the space we occupy.
Yeah, and it's great, right? Because people are finding their own path, and it's happening more. And I guess if you guys can be that bridge that takes them to that, I think that's awesome. That's
and the
wicked.
kids are responding. There's nothing more rewarding than having hypotheses that are well researched and validated, and then actually seeing the outcome seamlessly occurring. So we've just started, obviously we're in week 3, we're just having a flood of positive feedback from parents and young people, and it makes it all worth it.
It's lovely seeing those inquiries come in where you're like, you are exactly who we've designed this for. Like a parent that's like at their wits' end, they don't know what to do, and
they're apologetic for these incredible young people.
And anyway, and just being able to be like, don't worry, we got you. And it might not be the answer, but we're at least a place you can come and ask that question and reorient and know that, hey, it's okay if your kid doesn't fit. You're going to be okay.
Yeah, and it's great that there's more options out there for people.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's an awesome benefit. Like, why do you think as well that it's like happening more? Why do you think we're, I guess, as a society, forging our own paths more? Like, what's your perspective on that?
I had to think about this actually this morning, about the School Education Act in West Australia. It's last reviewed in 1999. And you think about how much has gone on since then. So I think the world has changed. The gap between what young people are leaving school with in a traditional setting and what the real world is requiring of them is just getting further and further apart. And I think it's very, very difficult for education systems politically to take risk and to experiment, but that's where the opportunity lies, where that collaborative effort can really start to happen. We almost take the small risk on behalf of the system and manage it well, but that's kind of where we have to get to. So I think the world's changed, young people therefore have changed and what their focus is and what they need, and so they're naturally not going to fit into that old system, regardless of what the system and schools are trying to do. We've had evidence this week that they just don't have the autonomy that they need to get out in the world. They have to unlearn how they've been learning.
Yeah, amazing. And as like founders, right, that's the perfect spot to position yourself in that corner of disruption. You know, no one's doing it within the system. We're going to operate in it, create our own category, basically, of education.
Yeah.
So.
And people are so connected nowadays. I think that traditional message of you go to school, you get your credential, you go to university, you get a job, like that's just turned on its head. And I think young people don't believe that either anymore. They know that there's, because I see them on social media, and particularly for our students that are entrepreneurial minded, like they see these success stories of people that maybe dropped out early. So, you know, they're actually looking for more than what's on offer sometimes, and they're shopping around in a way and looking for things that they know will benefit them. So
I think particularly the problem, and that's also this work we've done, is identifying where the problem is biggest.
Yeah.
And you start to see the wheels fall off around year 9 and 10 for young people, because all of a sudden they've got to make some big decisions, and it becomes highly standardised in year 11 and 12. And so there's some really big decisions that need to be made, and sometimes it's so big that the behaviours of the young person is to totally withdraw or disengage, but there's latent talent there and potential that is lost if you don't capture it. So we do focus up at that older end of the spectrum, because they want to be engaged and immersed in the real world, because that's what's on their doorstep. So if we keep them in an institution and shield them from that world and then say, off you go, see you later, good luck.
Guess what happens?
Yeah.
they get fired.
But then they start their own company, you know, maybe, which is good for us as well.
So we're trying to accelerate that process and minimise the road bumps and lost opportunity, money, time, all of that. So we're just condensing that.
Cool. So on that, like, what makes you guys different? What is it that you actually offer with IDEA?
Yeah, I think the idea of having education embedded within a real world context. So we work within co-working spaces or innovation hubs and like youth spaces. The fact that it is really personalized and co-designed for each student. So it's a bit of they kind of select and create their own program, and I guess just the true flexibility as well. Like ultimately, we don't mind what the portfolio looks like at the end of those 2 years, as long as that student is happy, they've pushed themselves, and their team, you know, parents, carers, whatever, that everyone's happy. So I think it's like, we're not invested in a particular outcome or a particular vision of success. It's as long as they're happy and they have their next step and they're ready to take it.
We'd see the last 2 years of education, or formal education, is the first 2 years of a career, essentially, and even going down into that 15-year-old space. And so it's a strategy, and because of the way we're structured, our facilitators are freed up instead of doing the chalk and talk and I've got the information and I will bestow that on you and then you will regurgitate it back to me. We've got time to really have a game plan that constantly pivots, and the students are encouraged to go and explore and experiment and find out what they do and don't like. Which saves time and money later on, and we can constantly pivot that strategic plan, I guess, that transition plan. So whereas traditional education probably puts a fair bit of emphasis on their success determined on scores, we measure our success on how successful that transition was for a young person.
And that's perfect, right? Like where you can integrate work and learning together and it overlaps, awesome things happen.
Yeah.
I remember when I was at university, I actually did my thesis on work integrated learning.
Oh, great. Well done.
And like how entrepreneurs are kind of impacted by that. And I think, I saw some really cool things happen out of Bloom and just that whole community. And I remember seeing Ed Futures around that time as well. And there were a couple of other organizations that kind of orbited that model. And then all the people out of that now, they're all doing amazing things, So I think it's definitely a testament. And I think we had another link too with Kai as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I was going to say actually when you were like,
adopter.
Yeah, you said when did your first cohort come together, and Kai like called back in, was it 2020 or 2021? Anyway,
I think we just had our like one page
website
up, and this kid gives us a call and says, "Oh, I'd like to attend IDEA, please." I'm like, "Oh shit, it's not a thing yet." Not a thing yet. Navigating that conversation with himself and his parents, and just thinking, "Wow, this kid's really, really special." But I can see that at school he's kind of, I think he was a personality at school, but he wasn't an outstanding student by any stretch of the imagination. Imagine if he stays at school for another 2 years.
I know. So glad he dropped out. Shout out to Kai Lovell.
Well, he didn't drop out. He jumped, didn't he?
Yeah, he just moved around, right?
Leapfrogged into university.
Leapt the whole process. He's like, I don't need this. I can start working. I can start.
Yeah.
We met him at West Tech Fest. Like he was just active.
Yeah.
And now he's got his own podcast and show as well. And stuff as
It was interesting when I was working in government and we were looking at success measures and things like that. And year 12 completion was this measure that schools were I guess measured up against. But the young people that were leaving in year 10 or 11 into apprenticeship, so that's dropping out of school, but that's quite successful because they've actually transitioned into work. Or the entrepreneur that jumps out and ends up at uni or running a company, well, that's a success measure, but there's none of that is captured in the data at the moment.
I mean, even if you're selling T-shirts or sneakers or something like that, you're still learning more about marketing than you will at university.
Yeah. One of our kids
today
went out, he's like, can I just go? I got to do a business thing, and went and sold 2 pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
Well,
he wanted to, he said, can I just go to, I can't remember, I don't think it was Foot Locker, but Nike or something like that. I just got to go now. I was like, there's some shoes to buy, isn't there, for reselling? And he's like, I was like, okay, all right, it can be your break.
Yeah.
And so he quickly nicked out and made $200 or $300 at recess. So
awesome. Tell us more about the students, because
oh my goodness,
there's
cool.
like so many great stories coming out of IDEA.
Yeah.
Are there any that really stand out for you?
There's
it's hard to pick your favorites, right? Like you don't want to.
There's a story for everyone. I might say there is a story for every single student that is awesome, because whenever we get asked this question, it's like, which one will we pick? Yeah.
I mean, Harry's a good story. He's on an internship with Better Labs Ventures at the minute, working for them. I don't know. The success stories for me are the kids that came on day one for an interview. Mm-hmm. And like there was one kid in particular that like couldn't even talk to me because she was so distraught and like anxious and had been so kind of screwed over. And like as she slowly like started to feel a bit safer, she was talking about like how much she loves animation, and there's this cool studio in Rome that she wants to go and work for. And now she just like she's so alive. She's got friends and she's chatty and she's confident. And so it's that kind of growth journey. And even Harry, who, the first time we met him, he was like so quiet and reserved.
He'd stopped attending school and his world was in his bedroom basically. And he was so scared of the world and doing online school at the time. Yeah, and you just wouldn't pick it now. Yeah. He's pitching in front of people. Yeah, it's absolutely, and he's working for Better Labs now, and you just would not pick that that's the story. But as I say, all of our students are like that, and people have asked us, what do you do to personalise, or how do you adapt your teaching style to these students' needs. And we're like, it's just idea. Idea is just flexible. It is student led, and we can personalize. So we're not actually doing anything out of the ordinary.
And seeing that, that transition and people thrive, it's so impactful. I mean, that must really inspire you guys.
It is. It's what keeps us going.
Yeah.
As we're very lucky as founders, and that we have constant validations. That can sometimes be very detrimental because you get to see every little eye roll or whatever, but we get constant feedback, and it's not in teaspoons. It's by the gallon, don't we?
There's no it's not just a Google review. It's like a we're okay, we're gonna pivot that one.
No, you don't like that.
This is if teenagers won't hold back either. If they don't like something, they'll let you know. So it's
that's cringe, miss.
Yeah. So it's a really intense thing to have your customer facing you and responding in the moment, but it's also really great.
But
it's
often
really
the issue for startups, right? Because getting that feedback loop can take too long or be slow, and
every
where
second.
you can get it every day. I mean, that's
a lot of our
the better product.
We're going to talk about mat time because something that what we do is if you feel the funk is there and nothing and it is not gelling, we'll be like, okay, bring it in, because we talk about it being co-design. That's not just that's just not something that we're throwing out there. We'll say, okay, what is working, what isn't working? What do you want more of, what do you want less of? They'll give us feedback and then we give them feedback, because it's got to be two-way. So it is truly co-designed around them.
Nice. Mat time. I've never heard it called
that
before. I mean,
basically, so I just sent my son to kindy. So he's just started school a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking at their book list, there's no books. It's coloring pencils, scissors, things. I was like, this is kind of like the idea, but it's at Idea we have mat time. It's kind of kindy, and we joke to families. It's family daycare for teenagers, because it's a safe, cool environment where kids can come and start their futures now, kind of thing. And it's in a cool co-working space. We call it co-learning because it's modeled off this idea of how co-working spaces have kind of exploded globally. Yeah. Why can't there be a similar thing for learners, where they can come together, learn on their own pathways, but they have a cohort, and a couple of our services have come because parents have come to us and been like, oh, please give something for my kid. And we're like, oh, and when you consistently see that there's a gap right there, we're like, well, I guess we can offer this for that cohort of kids. And so one of our offerings, Pathways, came from homeschool families and online learners being like, it's great, but they really miss a cohort, but they can't go back to school. And we're like, oh, we can certainly support some. Yeah,
have a study hub and just that wraparound service. So I think that something that we're good at is listening, and not experimenting, but testing. So is that what you want? No, so just turn the dial a little bit this way. Is that what you want? Yeah, good. And so I think that's the secret to our success, really, is that we are agile, we're responsive, we are highly empathetic, and so with that, it's a bit of a winning formula, really.
So good, just keeping that
and
open
the wine.
Mind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
a lot.
Well, when you can, you can't drink with your customers.
Oh no, we can't. No, and we don't. But let that be recorded.
Yes, let's get that on the record. But mat time, great compromise, great way to do that. Let's go back to marketing now. How did you reach your first customers? Because what are you sitting at student number wise today? It's getting up there.
68 at the moment, with all of our programs.
Yeah, awesome. But the first ones, where did they come from?
Early adopters were homeschoolers mainly.
Really?
Yeah. We did some info sessions for the Homes Education Network. I think it was, and then it's word of mouth, because I think in our industry, word of mouth is key. So because where do you go
decision.
If you want to find out what school to go to or something, it's your friends will be like, oh, this is a great, I know we're not a school, but that's where you go to get kind of trusted opinions. So
but the homeschool, if you think about a homeschooler, we actually interviewed a number of them and said, what was it that made you leave and choose homeschooling, or why did you never attend? What were those actual things? Yeah. Bullying came up a fair bit, and just the types of kids that don't buy the bullshit.
Yeah.
Highly sensitive, empathetic kids, creatives. And so we really listened in on what they needed, and then the word just got out there. Yeah, we did a few little information sessions for them on pathways, because what happens with homeschooling, it's fine when the kids are little, but then you get to high school and they're, it's beyond mum and dad, the curriculum is.
Yeah.
And the opportunities, you're limited by what mum and dad know. So they were missing the pathways support that you'd get at a traditional school. They were missing that, but they didn't want to go to a school to get that. So, yeah.
Nice. And did that often come over in like cohorts? I imagine like that community's pretty connected, right? How did it go with like other students? Was it like they would bring their friends? Or?
Yeah, that's how it worked.
Yeah.
We kind of joked about it, like, oh, bring a friend, but because they all started bringing friends, so you get, and again, it's just that word of mouth. I mean, I actually jumped ship from my high school in year 12 and went to another school. And it wasn't a strategic decision. My friends are going, and I was like, I want to go too.
Yeah.
So
but they have, like, everybody's brought a friend. I think, except for a couple, but everyone's ended up, because they hang out on the weekend and they're like, you don't look like you're petrified of going to school tomorrow, or you haven't got.
I mean, it's the majority of your week, right? Like, where are you going to be spending your most time?
And the kids are happy. Age? Yeah, they're happy.
Occasionally there'll be a moment, around 3:30, and I'll be like, do you even go here? Because their friends will come and meet them, at the hub, and I'm like, oh, I don't recognize you, but
nice. It's so good how you were able to leverage those network effects at play there, and really bring on all these customers at once.
Telling the story as well helps. Yeah. So the fact that this isn't a contrived service that we thought up overnight, it came out of from a very, very good place, much needed, and we could speak to the experience of our parents. Yeah. And the families. We knew exactly, we got inside their heads basically and knew exactly what they were going through. So that was, I think, absolutely key in building trust, because it's a big decision, particularly where we're pivoting to going towards a more purely vocational model. There's going to be a big jump. You got to leave school to do that. So you have to kind of, have to know your shit, and you have to also know what they're going through and feeling, and how big this decision is. Yeah.
And because you solved your own problem basically with the company.
Yeah, you get a bit of respect for that.
I joke that when I finished up in the last teaching role that I had in a school, I was actually going to do a PhD, and I was I joked that, I'll come back when there's a new way of teaching and I've got a school to go to that I want to teach in, and well, that didn't happen. We just created idea instead. So but
yeah, we like going to work each day.
Nice. You guys raised a bit of money as well. Do you want to share a bit about that process and
the whole thing we were learning?
It was a really good learning experience. We went and joined the +8 cohort. So that was really pivotal, I think, in our whole journey and our success in terms of getting off the ground, because I think before that, we didn't really know a huge amount. We just wanted to solve this problem, right? Yeah. There's this massive problem. We want to solve it, and here's the way we're going to do it. Yeah. And then
how do we pay for it? Then we're like, they're crickets. We're like, okay.
Oh wait, we got to pay ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, Lamington drives and sausage sizzles.
Well, that was it. We were and we went down a number of roads, because we were surely, and that was a part of my work. With Fogarty Foundation was how do we support these kind of initiatives, and who's going to take on the responsibility, and how do we generate? But, where we ended up, obviously Space Cubed had, Nicole was involved with them. I had a relationship with them as well. And, we knew about the +8 accelerator through them, and we chucked our hats in.
Yeah, we threw our hats. It was okay, we'll give it a go. But, we don't have a sexy tech company yet or anything like that. But we did. And I think that most people were shocked that we kind of got in. There's just, we knew our stuff, I think. We knew our stuff, and we were nice. Yeah. We were nice.
Now, retrospectively, we're okay, I guess we did have a good idea.
Yeah, it is a pretty good idea.
But and so really our journey with raising seed capital came from that experience. So because part of that, it's a huge learning journey, but it's the connections you make and the people who they're with you along the way, so they really understand your journey. And so when it came time to then raise funds, I think we've only done it once, but it seemed to us to be a relatively okay process, because we'd already had built trust, and people knew what we were about and what we were wanting to do. And so
I think it's less terrifying raising the first time than it is once you're in and you need to raise again. So, but thank goodness we had that.
Or you need to deliver.
Yeah, you need to deliver. thank goodness that we had +8. I've always said that that's probably the best learning experience I've ever had, because I needed the information there and then, whereas when you're studying at uni or whatever, you don't need it right then.
Yeah.
So, but just the support network, I think working in bureaucracy for so many years, I had become very used to that culture, and I didn't realise how supportive communities can be, work employment and work communities and business community can be.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing that really struck me, is that Perth is a small place, and if you can insert yourself into the startup community and business community, then there's a lot of support out there, a lot of goodwill, and people want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
It's
the wicked part about the startup community.
yeah.
Hey, it's just everyone just gets behind everyone, supports each
Yeah.
other.
It's
Like,
very,
it's
very
definitely
supportive. Yeah.
like that. Hey.
Which is a stark contrast to what I'd been used to in workplaces. So it's been really refreshing to experience that. And therefore you obviously want the young people that we serve, we want them to have access to that, and they do now. So everyone wants to help
Added
a young
benefit.
person, and so we feel very confident and comfortable making those connections for the students, and so it's nice.
Definitely witnessed as well throughout the +8 program. You guys finished that, but you've still kept active in that. What were some of the other ways that you guys have been active? Because I think I saw
Mentoring.
You were helping with the pitches. Like, they blew the pitch night away.
They did,
It was amazing.
Great.
Yeah, it was so good. They pitched in front of our kids. A few of them came down and pitched in front of our Surf 4 business kids, and
there was a few afternoons with it, because we're in Flux, so that is where +8 was being delivered, and so there'd be a few Friday afternoons where they'd drop in and say, "Can we just practice our pitch in front of you?" And
we had one of our students, Ollie, was the +8 runner, so he got to basically sit in on all of the +8 master classes.
Sessions and
so cool.
I just had a chat with him today, and he's like, "I just really want to have a purpose-driven business." I'm like, "You're onto it, buddy." Because they're obviously now he's in year 11.
We met him when he was
good.
13. We're like, "So have you got thoughts about the future and what you'd like to do?" He's like, "I want to be a philanthropist." And we're like, "Okay, so let's just make
so you're
some
going to need money.
You gotta say that one right as well. You got to be careful how you say that one sometimes.
He's a sweet
Whereas
boy.
we also have kids that are like, "I want to be a millionaire and get a Lamborghini." We're like, "Okay, let's just work on your purpose there."
Bit of a different type of personality. I won't name names, but I think we all know who I'm thinking of there. How are you guys planning to scale? Because you've got the one sort of
we're in
flagship
it.
school now. But
it's
what are your
really,
thoughts?
I think it is finding that hybrid organization that it's a tech company, but it's a service company as well.
Yeah.
So we kind of see ourselves as a bit of a hybrid in that we will be shifting more and more into that kind of online space. But the value we see in the gap is really in what we call our co-learning hubs, and like giving, because there's online options, but giving students some sort of a base and a cohort and a cultural experience too. So for us, I think the next couple of years will just be like bolstering our foundations, and then our plan is to just continue to grow, move to Eastern States and beyond.
When you launch a startup, it usually whatever you launch is held together with sticky tape and chewing gum and and so this year is very much about like shoring things up, pivoting slightly and putting those structures in place, and then because we can just see it, like the demand and the heat is starting to be felt. We've got communities. This is a very good option model for regional communities as well. So we've got communities that are reaching out saying, "Can we have an idea hub in our locality?"
Wow.
So we are discussing that with a couple at the moment, and some are beyond a discussion, which is really exciting. But we're like, well, we've got to get this the main core of our program and company shored up for that, and so that's happening whether we like it or not.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So there's a trend you can capitalize on.
We had a mum of a 3.5-year-old called to sign them up.
I was in the car this morning, like, "Sorry, did you say 3.5?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "What year is that?"
So that's a new target to be able to service that kid who will be in my son's class then as well.
Yeah, and I guess if you think about education, other institutions have been around for years, right? Like people are enrolling students at birth, for
crazy.
some of them.
So
So
she's enrolling this child in
Yeah.
an alternative from birth.
And that's the thing is like everyone, education is ubiquitous. Like everyone needs an education of some form, and so it's always going to be there, and the population growth alone there's gonna be a need for more providers, and we know that schools are busting at the seams. So I think for us, that's the beauty of this is it's okay to coexist alongside all of these other providers and other alternatives. We don't want to be this like, we're the best and we're the only solution. No. We suit a particular cohort of kids that don't have many other options. Yeah. And you know, and we feel confident that by just servicing them and doing what we do, like we can, and obviously busting our butts behind the scenes, like we can grow and we can continue to do what we've started to do over the last 18 months here.
The thing is that something has to change now. And I think that is from experience working in government, change is unfortunately slow. And that's because there's so many layers to get through, and it's difficult. You're looking at it from a conception of a new idea or initiative to actually rolling out, or even policy or legislation change. You're looking at about a 5-year process. We don't have that time. Our kids are really, really suffering. And we always say, if education is your issue, if your education's the issue, we can fix that. Because as I say, we're creating and we're targeting that niche group of young people where social issues aren't necessarily their problem, where it is they want to learn and they're creative and they're unique and they have gifts. But it's just underserved. They're underserved in the system. So something has to change. I just don't think that government...
It's not happening fast enough.
It's not happening fast enough, and they need it now. We're losing the anxiety level of young people is quite disturbing, but it just seems to kind of disappear at IDEA, doesn't it? They're still
we
sensitive.
absorb it all.
We absorb it all, yeah.
It goes on the mat.
It's on the
Get
mat.
it all out
Leave it on the mat.
But I know that's a joke, but it's also not, because they get to... We model how to have the conversation around vulnerability and tolerance, and
Nice. You mentioned the regional trend and movement. What other trends are you seeing across education? You know, any that you can capitalize on as a company?
Micro credentials, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, it's a buzzword now, and there's been some questionable examples of micro credentials. But I even thought about going into post grad study. I can't sit in a classroom for 3 years and listen to lectures. I can't learn that way anymore. I think the way that the industry changes so quickly now. By the time you get to the end of a degree, it's obsolete. So that concept of on-demand, fit for purpose skills and credentials, that is the way to go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The mini course.
That can be pivoted and changed. That's definitely a trend.
And I think definitely the flexibility piece. I think with COVID, there was many downsides, but one of the upsides was students were like, I can just learn online. Asynchronous in my own time, and more we see online solutions globally, but families are more mobile. I travel now that COVID's done, or mostly done, I want to be able to travel with my kids and not necessarily have to worry about term time. And I think how cool to be able to take your education with you and then potentially find a place around the world that it's part of your
own
IDEA community.
So good.
So definitely that flexibility and
for sure. One of the apps I really like is Primer. When I was first started at Ammo and learning a lot of marketing things, this Google app that would basically break things down into mini lessons, because apparently adult attention span's only 7 minutes. Yeah. So I guess if you're still listening to this episode, you're doing well. But seriously, we haven't got much left in terms of attention. So just to be able to, break it down, keep it easy for me, that's what made it work for me.
And we always say we're not going to do anything that you don't need to do at IDEA. So we're not going to fill time. We'd rather the students fill time. So, today we have what's called Flex Learning Day. It's self-directed study. The students aren't out doing further training or uni or whatever. They come into the hub and they have to be productive. But we're saying if that is that you're doing a project in the design studio, then great. If you're reading a book on, being a founder, then fabulous. But they need to kind of fill the time themselves with what's important. We provide structures around that and advice and help them to build that portfolio. But why just shovel pointless content in if they're not going to need it or use it or they're not interested?
That applies to so many things, doesn't it?
It's not rocket science. Sometimes I'm And the things that we're doing, they're not new concepts. It's like they're just a rehash of some of the stuff that's been said for a long, long time. So,
yeah.
and I
really
think,
logical.
you know, we talk a lot about innovation, entrepreneurship, design, but I think really the most innovative thing about IDEA is just how high care it is and how individualized. And that's something that will never go out of fashion. Like STEM was a thing. It's obviously still a thing and a buzzword, but entrepreneurship education is a bit of a buzz right now. They are key skills and important skills, but mostly what we meet the kid with is just like a lot of love and a lot of care. And then
And
that opens them up
understanding.
to be able to learn those skills of, you know.
'Cause it's got to come with you.
I look around
Yeah.
the room. It was yesterday and even this morning. I was just thinking, wow, this is actually quite amazing. Everybody was busy doing something, and but they were together. There was no one telling them what to do.
Yep.
They knew they'd had a plan that they'd kind of got signed off, and it wasn't an effort. And I was just thinking how much effort poor teachers have to go through to get everybody to do the same thing at the same time on their schedule.
Yeah.
Like there's so much effort in that. Yeah. So.
Fair enough. What would your advice be to founders, you know, in looking to grow? One big piece of advice.
Looking to grow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who wants to
It's
go
a-
first? Tough one.
I'm just like
Yeah.
thinking because we're at that
It's
point.
like, yeah.
Aren't we? We're
Yeah.
just
You know, I think definitely it's like it's such a rewarding thing because you're doing it for yourself, but it's like it's such an intense thing to do. I think if you're going to be looking to grow, like build your network, your support network first.
get a cleaner.
Get a cleaner, get a
cleaner.
cleaner, a
You can't
cook.
be doing that stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have
Got to be
time.
out. Got to be out
Yeah.
networking,
Yeah.
hitting the pavement.
It's true though. You need a team
Yeah.
behind you, and that might be
Yeah.
a team at home. That might be a team of friends, but also then a team of people who have done it before.
Yeah.
And a team of really good advisors. Like we so much leaned on the advice that the advice of the people around us
Yeah.
who we knew had the expertise and the experience.
Yeah.
Because the biggest learning for me as a founder was you need to know everything about everything. You can't do that all at once. You're always learning. And so you just have to rely on the advice of trusted friends and experts. And so, yeah, my advice would be surround yourself with a really good community of support.
Nice.
And I think
Go for it.
there needs to be a level of acceptance about what's to come as well. So I remember getting loads of anxiety a couple of Decembers ago.
A couple of Decembers ago.
Not this December, the one before, because I'm like, I need a break and I'm not going to get it. And I've only got this week off and then we're going to go back. And I just realized I was like, the anxiety is around denying the fact that you're going to be working your butt off again for another year. So it's almost like at that point I was like, okay, I just need to accept that it's going to be another year like that. It's going to be intense, and this year's going to be the same. We may have a light at the end of the tunnel for next year, but you just have to accept that this is the way it is. You're choosing it. And to warn everybody around you that, you know, I'm not going to be the best friend that I once was, or I like let people know and just say, I think that you have to accept the conditions.
Accept it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have to be fun, right? Like
It's so fun.
No.
Like, we make sure of that. Like we've always said that stand-up
Yeah.
comedy duo would be our backup plan, but you have to have fun.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you have to.
You do.
what would be in your routine? Give us some material.
I don't know.
Put you on the spot here.
Oh, God.
Come
I
on,
don't
you
know.
guys
I
are
think-
funny. I know you guys are funny. That's why I brought you on the show.
Oh, okay.
We'd be terrible at stand-up comedians because I don't think we could do it on demand, could we?
No, we
It's
couldn't
like
right
randomly
now.
on a Friday, but
Yeah.
yeah. I think anyway, something where we
Anyway.
just have to talk.
Something to
probably will
come
be.
potentially.
Yeah.
You need to have humility.
When the nervous
in the
breakdown
behind
happens.
the scenes episode of Weird Growth.
You guys come to meetings with us. So
Maybe
just
be-
record one of our meetings.
It would definitely be explicit on
I
the
don't know
Yeah,
how safe
podcast
that would be.
yeah. But yeah.
Right.
No, it is. It's a lot. It is a lot of fun. And actually, you know, the thing you have to do as a founder is take the time to just enjoy and tell
Yeah.
the story, because when you're so deep in it and all of the stuff that you got to do, I find sometimes that it's when we go and meet like maybe other founder friends, or we just talk about idea how it's going, and they're like, oh my God, this is so good. And I'm like, yeah, it's actually been really cool, you know, it's been really cool. So yeah, you have to enjoy those kind of moments of reflection, even when you're deep in the trenches.
Yeah.
And one thing that we used to do, we'd hit a milestone and be like, oh my God, anyway, next, what are we up to?
Yeah.
Like, we'd never celebrate it. And
So funny. Hey,
Yeah.
how you like work so hard to get there, and it's like, oh,
100%.
it's nothing. It's just another day.
because
and
you're like,
move
okay,
on.
now the next one. But it's not until
Yeah.
someone says, you guys are doing really well. You're like, yep, yeah, okay, we are. Or you get the feedback, you're
Yeah.
like, actually, this is, really, really good. So that's another piece of advice I do is just at least pause every now and then.
Just half an hour even.
Yeah, just,
But yeah.
Yeah.
Take it, celebrate the wins for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, it just reminds me of another podcast, what's it called? Straight Talk, I think, with like Mark Boris and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I sold that company. I went home. I had a beer. I had a pizza. Put the TV on. That was it.
yeah.
Like, it was like,
because
you
he's
know,
exhausted.
Yeah.
That's why. He was probably asleep
was
like
done.
a minute later. Yeah.
I think when we like fully subscribed our seed round, I like that once we got the final kind of offer through, I got home, dropped my bag, walked to the like playground outside Coles in the Melville shopping centre and got a pizza with my kids and I was like drinking apple juice and I sent a photo to one of the investors. I was like, thanks.
just raised.
You know, like a 4-year-old and at the time, like what, 8-month-old baby.
Yeah.
Or
But that's what
whatever.
I don't think people actually realize as well, particularly, I know being female founders that, you might raise your seed round and then go home and change a nappy or
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
like
Just dealing with
it's the
shit every day.
contrast.
Literal shit.
Literal
Contrast is
shit.
so full on.
Bureaucratic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's intense. It is intense. I think one of the nicest things when my husband said to me at one stage when I was freaking out about like ruining our lives, as you do in the early days, and he's like, do you know what? It's just about giving it a go, and you are in the best position to give it a go. And so, let's just jump in, give it a go. And what's the worst thing? It can be we just walk away.
You're like, well, so much could
Yeah,
happen.
I was like,
the
no, I
best.
appreciate it, but it really is, and I think that's it as a founder. It's just give it a go.
Yeah.
Don't and just go for it
Yeah.
because
Because you live with yourself if you didn't do it,
Yeah.
and didn't
Yeah.
find
I
out
always
what
say-
the what if,
Yeah, if I died tomorrow, that's very morbid. But if I did, I'd be satisfied with having. Yeah, please don't.
Yeah.
no, I'm like, oh shit.
We still want you here.
Yeah.
Leave us, please.
I would be satisfied though.
It'd be like not celebrating the wins. I'd like have a moment of being like, oh my god, oh shit, what am I gonna do now? I'm gonna hire someone.
How would I do this by myself?
It's like the milestone thing. You just move on.
Yeah.
When it's done.
That's sad.
That's super
Shame,
morbid.
shame.
That's why you need a co-founder.
So good. Show and tell time.
Uh-oh.
I brought a bag. Here's my cat.
This is a different show and tell, not the one that is normally at school.
Okay.
This is the one where you tell us about a tool, gadget, gizmo thing. Could be like yoga or something. I don't know. What's that one thing in your life at the moment that's like, I need it. It's making
just
it's
looked at
making
the
my
wine.
Let's like choose something
making
else.
it just makes your life easier as a founder of a startup.
Yeah.
This is going to sound so naff though, but
You can
like,
say anything you
it's,
want.
It's
It's a
honestly
podcast.
like the cleaner click and collect. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the people
Yeah.
doing jobs for you so that you can just work and then come home and rest for like 5 minutes. I know that sounds really naff, but then also Ayurvedic massages.
Oh, what?
100%
Sorry?
Ayurvedic massages. So
What
lots
is
of
that?
nice warm oil and it gets to your bones and the anxiety like leaves for about 10 minutes.
Wow. Is that like a Thai massage or something similar where you
Yeah, something similar. But yeah, that's a new thing I
What's it
introduced this
called?
year.
Aura?
Ayurvedic massage.
Ayurvedic?
Say it 10 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get one for free.
Yeah. So I found a magician basically
Wow.
close by and I
Yeah.
thought I need this in
Nice.
my life this year.
So good.
That's the
Yeah.
self-care tick.
Ooh.
Mine, she got me onto them as well.
Yeah.
Started
Yeah.
block booking. I think mine is similar to yours as well, but it's like all this support. Like I have a nanny to support. Actually I don't have a cleaner, but I have a supportive husband who cleans and who cooks, and it's all it's you have to just outsource all of those jobs.
Yeah,
Like, you can't do it
outsource
all.
everything.
Anything that you can
Yeah.
like
Uber
take
Eats it.
the mental load off you, like because we get decision fatigue. So even you get home and it's like, what about noodles or rice? And like, I don't care. Again, like some whatever
Yeah,
carbohydrate you
true.
want right now. Like any outsourcing of decisions
Just outsource any decision.
that are not
that you don't need to make.
critical.
That's a good one.
Then that's
I
the
even
thing.
went down the Mark Zuckerberg path
She
of
did.
just I know I'm wearing a different t-shirt today. Got to represent
She's dressed
brand.
up. She's dressed up.
But I literally just
Yeah.
went into Kmart. I was like, I bought 7 white t-shirts. I went into Meijer. I got a pair of black pants, navy pants, khaki, whatever. And now all I wear is Converse, pair of pants, and white t-shirt every day. So I just don't have to
so she
think
doesn't have
about
to make that
Bang,
decision.
all in my
I know
wardrobe.
it sounds silly, but that
Yeah.
it's all these
just
little
don't have the
decisions.
I
time.
had the same thing at home. I just have select shirts on the one side with the pants. Bang. Just
Yeah.
That's it. Out the door.
Yep.
Yeah.
So good.
There was a turning point in my relationship with my husband where it was just because, and it's not necessarily just women, but you know, you have so much mentally that you manage. And I was like managing the house, managing the kids. And I know I was outsourcing those tasks, but I was still the manager. And so I was framing it as I can't be, you can delegate to me for some things, but I cannot make the decision anymore. So there was a question at one stage of like, oh, what do we need from the shops? I was like, I don't know. You tell me, I'll go get them. I can't make the decision.
Wow.
And so again, it's just a reframing of,
for sure.
so I kind of laid out all of the jobs that I was managing. And at the time it was like PhD, kids, work, idea. And I was like, I can't do all of this. So you're going to be the house manager and we're going to share the kids management and I'm going to quit my PhD. And that's how we did it.
You got like an org structure for your family.
No, you gotta do though.
You gotta.
But you got to think about it. Entrepreneurs are problem solvers.
Yeah,
so people
that's
always
it.
go to problem solvers because it's like it's second nature to us.
Yeah.
We can solve problems really, really well.
Yeah.
And so there's a bit of learning around you with the people that you live with.
Yeah, exactly.
To go, she's
Okay,
the
they're
problem
special
solver.
now.
Yeah,
They're
the
special
problem
now.
solver for something else now, and maybe we need to step up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final plug. Ask where can people go if they want to learn more about Idea Academy?
Go to our website, ideaacademy1a.com.au.
Yeah.
Drop into Flux.
Come down to the basement. Just follow the stinky teenagers.
There's an odour and a
say
loud
hi.
noise.
Yeah, just go to our website, our socials, like give us a
we'll
call.
put them all in the show notes and stuff as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, guys, for coming on the
Thanks
show.
for having us.
If you enjoyed this episode today, please go like and subscribe and follow us on all the things Weird Growth. Thanks, guys, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.